So, hello all, welcome back to another video on Metasploit all the things. We already covered the basics. If you haven't watched that, go to YouTube channel and there is a playlist with the name of Metasploit all the things, and you can start with the very first video, of course. So we are somewhere here with the Venom. Venom is, of course, the poison, we can say, and Metasploit, which is a hacking framework or pen testing framework, offers that Venom creator tool. What it will gonna do? It will create poison. Poison is nothing, of course, in cyber security term. It's a shellcode or a payload, what we can say, right? Shellcode is malicious piece of code which is designed to harm a particular system or particular server or the victim machine, I would say, right? The harm can be with XYZ reason. So yeah, let's get started. So the tool here is, of course, msfvenom. What it will gonna do? It will create a poisonous malware, Trojan, or I can say malicious piece of code. So by just writing msfvenom and hitting enter, you'll get all the different options that it offers, right? So here, the very first and foremost is really important. It says it will gonna list all modules. So modules within the msf is like the different subcategories, I would say, and the categories are payloads, the one which is something that will gonna utilize a lot, of course. Encoders, I'll explain what are the encoders, knobs, platform architecture, encrypt format and all. So there are different I would say a list sub modules, and that can be utilized within our msf venom, or basically we can specify those particular entities in order to create our shell code or malicious piece of code, or in simple term, in general term, it's a poison. Of course, poison is designed, or poison is something that can harm your body. Similarly, it is for the computer. For computer, Venom or MSF Venom creates those poisonous payloads or a shell code to harm a particular server or the server where it will gonna be executed, right? So let's get started with the very first, payloads. The payloads, and within the payloads, there are, like, within the Metasploit there are a lot, let's say, more than at least 200 different payloads offered by Metasploit. Payloads are malicious piece of code, remember that. Payloads are malicious piece of code that is designed to harm a particular system or a server. So let's get started. MSF Venom -L is what we are learning right now. And what I want to list is payloads, right? Should be good. Let's hit enter. It will gonna take some time, of course, because it's really huge. Here we have. So I have all the different so-called payload list. If in order to read it in a better way, I'll just make a little small. Let's count it first. WC-L. I'm just grabbing all, or I'm just piping all the output with the WC. It's another tool, of course, in your Linux environment. It has somewhere, hmm, please count it fast. Okay, 874 different payloads. Interesting. If I hit enter again in order to list in a better view, perfect. This should be better than at least before, right? So there are, if you notice, some for the Windows, and if I scroll up, some are for the other operating system. Here, it's not operating system, of course, it is something, a language based shellcode. So basically, whenever you find a Ruby uh, program or this Ruby interpreter, you can directly execute those shellcode or malicious piece of code in order to work whatever the functionality. I'll explain what are those. So some are for the Windows, some are for the other standard standalone languages or scripts basically. Some are for the different operating system. If I scroll up, some are for the Linux, and yeah, there are a lot, right? A lot more. So we'll be not focusing on each and every shell code, of course it will be time consuming, and it is not something even expected. So what we're gonna do, we'll first understand how those payloads are designed, in the naming, not exactly how it is developed. I'm just talking about how that naming structure works. So if I just say MSF payload, just list all the payloads and grep for the Windows, right? Grep for the Windows. Yeah, should be good. Parallelly, I'll have my notepad handy so I can just copy and paste some of the payloads in order to understand how the structure and the naming is designed. Okay, so here we have. I'll scroll up a bit. Let's take one as example with this. I'll copy it, paste it. I'll explain everything. No need to worry about. I'll copy this out, paste it here. So reverse TCP should be good. Okay, those four different payloads really explains what is the structure of this entire payload list. Based on what you will get basic understanding of all the different payloads and what could be the structure. So you don't need to remember everything, just understand this basic concept and should be good. So let's just get started with. So first here, first and foremost is your Windows, or basically if I can say your operating system. As you see in all the different payloads, the first and foremost is for Windows. It's all your operating systems. If I scroll up and look for some of the Linux payloads, just to get an idea, let's say Linux. Of course, this grabbing takes little time. Here we have, right? It's almost the same. So I can copy one of the payload from Linux so you'll get an idea against the same. Copy and paste here. So first and foremost is your operating system. When operating system is not there, like it's not designed for Windows, it's not designed for Linux, it might be designed for a particular interpreter. Like PHP has its own interpreter or its own execution binary, right? Similarly, Python has its own interpreter. What it will gonna do? It will get in its design format. It will get payload in its design format and execute in whatever the system it has. Like it can be Windows, it can be Linux, it can be any other, right? So those are the different payloads. We're not gonna include it in this particular sessions. Maybe pro in the later on we're gonna focus on. But right now, let us understand in a simple term. The first and foremost is your operating system. The second is your architecture, like whether it is 32-bit or 64-bit. So when it says 86 or when it does not say anything, means that it is the 32-bit shellcode or 32-bit payload, right? So second one is your architecture. Remember, first is your operating system, second is your architecture, and the third is your program. Why this program? I'll explain a bit. So the program here in Linux environment, it says the program is a shell. What does it mean by shell? So if you are aware, shell in Linux environment is /bin /bash, right? So basically what it will gonna do, it will provide it, the program will provide functionality of /bin/bash. Same way when it says Metasploiter. So Metasploiter is a custom program designed for Metasploit. Metasploiter is a custom program. So the third section I would say is for the program. What type of program will gonna execute? So here it says Windows x64 and the third one is program. I'll give you idea of this underscore and slash difference, but let's just focus right now as the slash. Okay, so the third segment is for the program. The next here is, it says some of says reverse TCP, some of says bind TCP, some of says reverse underscore HTTP. So there is something called segment 1 underscore segment 2, right? There must be a meaning. When it says reverse, means that the connection will be delivered to an attacker, right? Connection will be delivered to an attacker. So it's a mode, I would say, or let's take it in a simple term. It's something like mode, um, or no, mm, way of communication, or yeah, way of communication, I would say. It's reverse or bind. The last here, some of the says TCP, some of says HTTP. So those are the used protocol. What protocol will be used when this communication will gonna happen? Reverse is something when it will gonna revert back to an attacker. Bind is something when it will gonna bind on a particular port. I'll give you an idea in a practical way so you'll get a better understanding. If you want to if you want to just understand in a very simple term, you can go to my YouTube channel. There is a short section, shorts playlist specific here. So if I just take the short 60 sec hack and oops, my bad. Here you'll find the concept of bind shell as well as reverse shell in very simple term. It will be very simple. So you just go check, it will be easy to understand, right? However, I'll explain this concept of reverse and bind shell here too, but it will be in a detailed manner. Perfect. So again, the first and foremost is your operating system, architecture. The third is your program in use. The fourth is way of communication, whether it's a reverse or bind. And the last one is protocol to be used, right? So if I now look back to other, we'll get a better understanding for Linux. Let's say, so Linux, it says Linux x64 is the 64-bit executable, of course. Metasploiter tells that this is a special program designed for Metasploit, and the bind means it will gonna bind to a particular port, and of course the TCP means it will gonna utilize standard TCP communication. Some of them are HTTPS. If I scroll up, you'll find some DNS based as well. So let me scroll down probably. IPv6 TCP. No, this it uses IPv6. That's it. Nothing else. Let me just grab. It will be easier. Perfect. So here, some of them are for the DNS. It uses TCP, of course, with the DNS. Is basically it's a TCP version of following the DNS protocol rules and all the things, right? So it's not gonna use UDP, but it will gonna use TCP version of the same. So there are some more. If you see, there will be, you'll find this ICMP, of course. If I search for ICMP, it will gonna follow that ICMP protocol in order to uh, transmit the data. Probably there will be a different name. Need to quick check, but yeah, you'll get a basic idea this how it works. So again, Windows, this is for the shell, is nothing for the Windows environment. It's a Linux, and if it is Windows, then it will be cmd.exe, right? If I see some of them are like VNC inject. What it will gonna do, it will inject that VNC inject program, VNC program basically, and it will gonna execute, right? This is just a program. UPexec is another program, right? It will gonna execute the program. So similarly, if you scroll up, you'll find a PowerShell. What it's gonna do, instead using the cmd.exe, it will gonna utilize PowerShell. So simple way, OS, architecture, program, way of communication, whether it's a reverse or bind, and protocol to be used or used protocol, whether it's TCP, whether TCP with or HTTP or any other, right? So yeah, this is all planned for this particular session. Keep in connect so you won't miss the update, right? So you can go and hit a subscribe, of course. It's simple. You just need to click this subscribe button. Or what else you can do is you can connect me on Instagram. Whenever I do upload new videos, I'll get, of course, that uh, I'll just put my story that yeah, new video is out. So if you like, learn something new, hit that like button, and yeah, comment below if you need anything as a special, any detailed explanation of any topics that I have covered already. I'll surely help you out. Okay, that's it. That's all. See you next time.